uncontrollable debt is because insider mega banks want a debtor society they can control. We'll get Dent's take and see if he disagrees here in a moment and start taking some of your phone calls. Before we go any further, though, here are some of the headlines. New York Times, Obama administration and health insurers have powerful, mutually beneficial partnership. New York Times. Vow, companies will strenuously fight Republican efforts to dismantle Obamacare. And more taxes are now emerging. Meanwhile, 3,000 illegals joined Texas schools this week. 95% of families of illegals being released. New wave expected. I mean, this country is being imploded right now, ladies and gentlemen. Ex-Obama aide demolishes New York Times claim that Gruber role wasn't limited. Former Obama aide says that he was the guru of the health plan. We'll cover that article coming up, and the video is on Infowars.com with the guest Steve Ratner. We're going to play that clip coming up once we get its top story, prisonplanet.com, Infowars.com, harrydent.com is our guest website. Before I go any further, give the gift this Christmas, I'll be politically incorrect, or this holiday, of getting people healthy. We've come out with revolutionary, hardcore, missing link, hiding in plain view, True Nation iodine that so many people are deficient in, that does so much more than just the regular iodines out there. Survival Shield X2 and Survival Shield Original. Survival Shield X2 is almost sold out. We have regular Survival Shield. DNA Force, game changer. Oxy Powder, you've heard the rave reviews. Super Male and Super Female Vitality, Lung Cleanse. And now the new, truly organic methylcobalamin, 80% of it's that, and the rest is the other organic, 20%. Secret 12, what we believe is the best B12 out there. It just does amazing things. Unfortunately, we even got more delivered than we had previously produced. They had an overage at the laboratory, but it will be sold out within a couple days. So if you want to get Secret 12, it'll probably be till Christmas till we get more. Just can't wait to hear your reviews of it. It's been amazing for me and my family. Secret 12, what we believe is the most powerful, purest, highly absorbable form of B12 out there. 80% of it, of what's in there, is what the injectable is. But you don't inject this. It's taken sublingually or lingually, under the tongue or on the tongue. It's more if you put it under the tongue and let it really soak into those glands, the saliva glands there. But very, very powerful. Ladies and gentlemen, InfoWarsLife.com or 888-253-3139. And you can also get a nightly news membership for all my films, the nightly news, the commercial-free podcast, special events, and more. 20 years of material. It's been around 14 years now. PrisonPlanet.tv, InfoWarsNews.com, $5.95 a month. 20 people. We just turned it up yesterday. 20 people can use one membership. So just buy a membership, create a username and passcode that's original, share it with your friends and family. 20 can log in simultaneously, prisonplanet.tv. And then when they try to censor us on YouTube and places, it won't matter. You have a major fallback position in HD. You can watch it on Roku, Boxy, your cable systems. We're adding new stuff all the time, and we just dominate the charts all over the place. And that's another question for Dent on trends. If a guy from Texas in 20 years, from nowhere, never took a loan, nothing, can build this organization that reaches about 18 million people a week one way or another with podcasts, YouTube, terrestrial radio, satellite, what's the establishment media going to do? Well, CNN's getting dropped off Dish. CNN's getting dropped off cable systems. But not just because they're too big, too top-heavy, too dinosaur-like. It's also they told us Obamacare was good. So Dent, I want to get with you today into the Dow mini megaphone pattern chart, show that to folks, other key news. But what do you expect on that subject I raised, or do you disagree that there is an anti-growth, anti-freedom, anti-family move in the West that is counterproductive even to the political class? Do you disagree with that, A? Or B, why do you think that is?
Well, I think governments just aren't taking account some fundamental changes that have already occurred. Women have entered the workforce at rapid rates since the 1950s. When women enter the workforce, it starts to become a dilemma between work, their career, and having kids. The countries that help women the most and have the strongest maternity policies, countries like Norway and Sweden, have some of the highest birth rates in the West. Countries like Australia, Canada, and New Zealand, and the U.S. encourage high immigration or attracted high immigration one way or the other, and the immigrants tend to have more kids. But governments need to realize that as people get affluent, as they move more into urban areas, as women move more in the workforce, you have to encourage and make it easier for women to still have kids. They have to be able to work and have kids. You can't make those work against each other. And there's countries that are doing this. And there's countries that don't have huge deficits like Australia. There's countries like Australia that attract high quality immigration on purpose. There's ways to do this right. It's just most governments are asleep on this. And like you say, there's too much encouragement, entrepreneurialism. We need to encourage all of this stuff. More kids, more entrepreneurial activity, less bureaucracy, less top-down planning, and the most top-down planned economy in the entire world today, supplanting the USSR, is China. And China is going to have the biggest bubble of all because their government created a bigger bubble than our government has.
Well, they admit that. So what do you expect is going to happen? How do you see China going down? And then I want to get into the Dow mini megaphone pattern that's so important and look at the Dow at 6,000. You've got all these charts at harrydent.com, but history doesn't lie. Patterns don't lie. They're clearly there. How do you expect China to go?
Well, here's what you have to understand what China's done for. People are saying, oh, the communist model actually works when you make it more capitalistic like China. No, economists are clueless on this. China has simply overbuilt everything, 20, 30, 40, 50%. Infrastructures, real estate and housing, industrial capacity. China has moved people from rural to urban areas. That is a natural thing, but not at the rate. China's economy is on steroids. They have overbuilt. I've calculated they pretty much overbuilt their economy for 15 years out and created the greatest bubble in real estate in modern history. When this thing crashes, there's going to be 220 million people with no skills moved in from rural areas who've been just building stuff for nobody. When that bubble stops, they're going to have no work. They're not even legal citizens in these cities, only back in the rural areas, and they've already paved those over. This is going to be the biggest disaster in modern history. And Alex, what I think it's going to prove wrong on these economists who are praising the China model as the new state-driven capitalism, it's going to prove that governments can't top-down manage an economy. It's the free market democratic system that have become so wealthy. And China is violating that, and they're going to prove this model, their new model, wrong.
Well, that's right. History is totally clear on that. And I love how they call it state-run capitalism. They have another name for it. It's called fascism.
Yeah. I mean, it is. I mean, it is top-down. It's crony capitalism. In the Communist Party, it's just like the mafia or something. Whoever knows the politicians gets favored by them. They get the deals. The politicians encourage all this overbuilding, and then they encourage the developers not to cut prices, and the developers encourage clueless, affluent Chinese to buy condos that are empty. They don't even try to rent them out. They just buy them. And the government and developers try to guarantee they'll go up. Well, developers are cutting prices. That's the first sign. They are cutting prices up to 40%.
Well, I was about to say, how do you build, tens of millions of units? I mean, just whole cities of empty 50-story, 60-story condos, and there's not even grocery stores for 15 miles away and no roads. It is insane asylum level.
It is. This is so obvious, Alex. But economists don't see it. Well, China's growing at 8-12% a year. I tell people, look at China's stock market where they don't measure growth, they measure profit. That's what stocks do. When you overbuild, you have high fixed costs, high debt loads, and you're unprofitable. China's stock market crashed 70% more than ours in 2008, had a feeble rally into early 2010, and has been going down ever since as near its lows. The stock market is saying our economy stinks, and it does. Now, when real estate and all the speculation in real estate collapses, the affluent are going to lose wealth at a rate that nobody's seen. And the affluent people, the top 10% of people in China who are buying all this real estate, they control 60% of the wealth and high amounts of income. When the affluent go down, China's going to go down. And this is going to be one of the biggest surprises of the next several years.
What about the Dow mini megaphone pattern? We're going to put that on screen for TV viewers, but describe it for radio listeners.
Yeah, put that up, because we talked the last few times I talked about a bigger megaphone pattern where you have each bubble goes higher, but each crash goes lower. Well, the same pattern's happening here near term. since June, each high in the market's gone a little higher, but each low has gone radically lower. So we're at a critical point here in the markets. We had this correction, this sharp correction into October 15th, but then a surprisingly even sharper move back up. I call these the markets on crack. When you have this much stimulus and highly leveraged speculation by traders and stuff, the market just crazy. It just goes up, 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 and then it makes these violent moves. It kills the everyday investor. The market's at a critical point. With the top part of this little mini mega